we can get to the point that our pseudocode or our code starts to get confusing to others or even to ourselves later when we come back to the code that we haven't written for a while. It's always good to document what you have done in code. You can document or write notes to yourself or to other programs directly in the code itself, and these notes are called comments. The comments you write in the code are not for the computer to read or compile or interpret, but just for the developer of the code to read or to help others understand what's going on in the code. You can put any of the following in your code as comments. You could put who wrote the program, dates of when the program was created or modified, what the program does or what parts of the code is doing, how the program works, where the program is getting, saving, or outputting data, or any known problems with the program. Every programming language provides different ways to create these comments, and as the computer is processing the code, when it comes to one of these comments, it will ignore those lines of code. Remember, these lines are just for the human developers, not for the computer to process. Here is an example of Perl, Python, and Ruby. They all use the hashtag for comments. So as the computer is going through line by line and seeing the code, when it comes to this hashtag, it knows to ignore everything that's next to that hashtag, in our case, to the right of that hashtag. So the first line, this whole line, a simple example, is ignored by the computer. The second line, print, as the new line, semicolon, is all processed by the computer. It doesn't have a hashtag in front of it, but you can even have a little bit of comments next to the code after the code. So everything here, add a new line character after printing, would all be ignored. And the printing just happened to go on the next line there. In C++, Swift, and JavaScript, a single line comment begins with 2 slashes. So the first line, this is the comment, would be ignored by the computer and it's just for the developer. And again, you can add the comments after the code on the same line. So this will print the output for the user here, will also be ignored, but the print and the this is it will run by the computer. If you have multiple lines, like you have a whole paragraph or a lot of information, you can comment out all of the multiple lines with a slash asterisk at the beginning and an asterisk slash at the end in C++, Swift, and JavaScript. So that's just a little bit about comments, and if you see those or need to use those, I think it's a good way to document your code. Okay, let's talk about expressions and operators. Expressions can use 2 or more values to return a single value. Var A, then it has the equal sign 10. It doesn't mean A is equal to 10. It means 10 is getting assigned to A. The variable called A is getting a value put into it, getting assigned a value, and that value is 10. The next one says var sum equals sign A plus 5. So the value of A, which we know holds 10, plus the value of 5 is getting added together, making 15, and then that 15 is getting assigned to the variable sum. Okay, the last one, another new variable called total, is getting assigned sum, which we knew had 15 in it, plus the value of A, so 15 plus 10, which is 25, is now getting assigned to total. So you can use variables and numbers together and use those as an assignment into a variable. And here we see we just used the plus sign, but you could also use, timesing, dividing, anything like that. Okay, let's look at the strings at the bottom. So instead of numerical values, you can have strings or characters or letters. So the variable name is getting assigned the string Sue. So it says var name equal sign, and then in quotes, Sue, semicolon. So the string, or the letters SUE, string or text, is getting assigned into the variable called name. So that string is now stored inside the variable name. Second line, salutation is a variable, var salutation equal sign, in quotes, hello, semicolon. So the string hello is getting assigned into the variable salutation. Then you can take those two variables, concatenate them together. Now the concatenation plus sign is the only expression that you can use with strings, and it doesn't mean it does add them together, but it's more of a concatenating or putting those two strings together. So the answer, or what's getting assigned to greeting in the last line, so it says var greeting equal sign salutation plus name, semicolon. So salutation was hello, name was Sue, and you put those two together and it would say hello Sue. Now do note we did have a space after the O in hello, so the two wouldn't be right close together into like one big long word. They did have a space between them. So just some expressions and how you can use those and then assign those to a variable name. All right, let's look at some more. When using two or more values, you must use an operator. Now we talked about the assignment operator already, and so we've got another example here of name getting assigned the string Sue. So name equals, in quotes, Sue, semicolon. We also have arithmetic operators. So it reads product is getting assigned 5 times 10, which is 50, and it will be assigned into product. So product equals sign 5 asterisk 10 semicolon would be timesing 5 times 10 and assigning that to the variable product. There are string operators, and we've already seen these as well. We have the string morning be assigned to time of day, and the word good plus that variable time of day, which held morning, would be assigned into greeting with greeting equal sign good inside quotes plus time day, which is the variable. So it would say good morning. We have comparison operators, and with the comparison operators, so far we've been assigning strings, numbers, or other variables to variables. You can also assign a Boolean value. A Boolean is either true or false, and it can be assigned as the word true or false without quotes, or as in the case here, you can assign the result of an expression that then would result in either true or false, and then that true or false would be assigned to the variable. So if we look at this one, it says message equal sign time day not equal with the exclamation equal sign, and then evening inside of quotes, semicolon. So it's saying that is the time of day not equal to evening? And if we look at our little assignment above where we were talking about string operators, we know that the string morning is assigned to time of day. So if we said is time of day, which is morning, not equal to evening, that's true. It is not equal to evening. The string morning and the string evening are not equal. So that would actually evaluate to true. Then that would be assigned into message. So message would hold the Boolean value of true. If it said time of day not equal to morning and it was morning, then that would be false. So just you can actually get from the right side of the equal sign, if that expression is true or false, and then that will be assigned into that variable. All right, then we have logical operators. And in this case, we have two conditions separated by an or. So it says product equal sign. Inside parens, it has 8 less than sign 9. And then it has two bar symbols, which means or. Then another parenthesis with 9 greater than 10 inside of it, and then semicolon. So we're looking at two expressions. So is 8 less than 9? That's true. Is 9 greater than 10? That's false. And so we're saying true or false. Only one of them has to be true in order for product to be assigned the value true. We'll also see later two ampersands, which mean and that means those two conditions could be checked, and both of them would have to be true in order for them to be true. So we'll look at that in more detail when in another lesson. But these are all the different kind of operators that you might see as you're doing coding. All right, let's talk about increment and decrement. Here we have a variable var I equal sign 2 semicolon. So it's saying assigning the value 2 to I. And we can have an I plus plus. And what that's the same as saying I is equal to I plus 1. So if we had 2 and we had an I plus plus or I is equal to I plus 1, then we would end up with I being 3. And then we also have I minus minus, which is the same as I equals I minus 1. So this is just a little shortcut method. You'll see it with counters, something you're trying to keep count of, maybe in loops and things like that, where each time you want to just add 1 to it, 1 to it, 1 to it, and it's just kind of a little shortcut way to say add 1 to the counter, add 1 to the counter, and things like that. Another one that you don't see modulus too often, but if you need to check that something is divided evenly, meaning it doesn't have a remainder, then you could use modulus. You take the first number and divide it by the second number and see if there's any remainder, and that is what the modulus is. So you look for a 0 to see that it is divided evenly. So the first one says var remainder, so we have a variable called remainder, and it says equal sign 12 percentage, which means modulus 5 semicolon. So you would take 12 and divide it by 5. 5 goes into 12 2 times, which is 10, but then there's 2 left over, so we have a remainder 2. So that actually what would be assigned to remainder is the number 2. And then we have the next one, var answer equal sign 10 percentage sign, which is modulus 5 semicolon. So 10 divided by 5 is 2, and there's no remainder left over after that. 5 evenly goes into 10 twice, so there's no remainder. So what would be assigned to answer in that case would be 0. The last one says var leftover equal sign 20% sign, which is modulus 6 semicolon. So 20 is divided by 6. 6 can go into 20 3 times, which is 18, and you would have 2 left over. So leftover, the variable leftover would be assigned the value 2. If we had 20 modulus 7, 7 would only go into 22 times, leaving 6 left over. So 2 times 7 is 14, and then there's 6 more to make 20. So you'd have a remainder 6. So it's kind of an odd little thing, but once in a while you might need to know that something is not divided evenly and be able to check it with Modulus. All right, it's also good to know that just like in elementary school, when you have a long math problem with different parts to it, you can use the precedence rules when it comes to expressions. And just like in elementary school, we have anything in parentheses would be done first. Then you have increment and decrement would be done next. Division and multiplication would be done left to right. Modulus would be next. And then addition and subtraction left to right would be done. So if you need something done before all the others, you just make sure you always have it in parentheses. So for example, we have bar subtotal equal sign, inside parens 13 plus 1, then times 5. So without the parens, it might go to the 1 times 5 first and then add it to 13. But since we have parens around the 13 plus 1, we're going to do it first, and that would be 14. Then you times it by 5. So subtotal would be assigned 70. Again, the next one, if it didn't have the parens, so it says var shipping equal sign 0.5 times, and then inside parens 13 plus 1. So again, the parens will be done first. You'll get 14 there first, and then you'll times it by 0.5, and the shipping then would be assigned 7. So just remember the order of the precedence and anything that you need to have done first, that you put that side inside of parentheses. Okay, and then string operators. The only string operator, like we had mentioned before, is the plus sign. It does concatenate or join the strings together. So in this case, we have bar greeting, equal sign, and inside quotes, welcome, comma, space, and then a semicolon. We have bar name equal, inside quotes, Sue, exclamation, and then semicolon. And then we have bar message equal sign, greeting plus name, semicolon. So it's taking the two assignments, this welcome string that we assigned to greeting, the welcome string that or the Sue string that we assigned name. It's taking those two together, putting them side by side, and assigning that to the variable message. So message would then be assigned the string welcome, comma, space, Sue, exclamation.